Hi, seventh graders, and here we are almost at the end of October. It is Monday, October 26th, so you are in the right place if you are looking for lesson 23. Decided to try to have a little bit of fun. I'm getting a little punchy with all these videos, so I'm just trying different things each week. I didn't really want to be on camera because I haven't had a shower today, so I decided to do a colorful PowerPoint, and there might be a few little surprises as we go through. So hopefully we can have a little bit of fun with kind of a boring topic. But I need for you to get out your lesson or your textbook, and you're going to turn to page 110. And you know we've already been talking about nouns and their plural endings. And this is the chapter that everybody, or the lesson that everybody just kind of glosses over and they think, oh, I know this and this isn't a problem. However, when I test you later on, if you're like all my other seventh graders in the past, the knowledge doesn't seem to translate very well, and a lot of these things get misspelled on that test. So I want you to pay attention. You could even possibly make a few little index cards, or at least take note of the different rules that we're going to go over. You could even print out these slides if you wanted. But hopefully as you do the homework, it will help you remember what you're supposed to be doing. So hopefully you've opened up to page 110, and we are going to begin with the gray box, just like we always do. And so I want to, I'm just going to quickly go through these, but then we're going to attack each one of them. It's going to be presented as a problem in the English language. So the first thing is that some nouns have identical singular and plural forms. Sometimes nouns look like plural forms, but they are singular. Sometimes nouns are usually considered plural, whether they name one thing or more than one thing. A noun borrowed from another language may have a foreign plural ending. And collective nouns are things that seem singular. It refers to a group, but what's key is that the rest of your sentence makes sense. Also, I didn't include it in here, but sometimes nouns will have archaic endings. We're going to talk about that specifically when we get to it. And then also, sometimes you just have to change the vowels or the spelling completely. So we're going to take a look at each one of those individually. So problem number one, and we've talked about the difficulties that foreign students have with learning the English language. There's just about a rule for everything. And so here would be one of the problems that they would encounter. Now, these are things you've grown up with. You learned from your parents and other adults how to pluralize things. But I'm sure when you were 2 or 3 or 4 that you might have ran outside and seen geese flying overhead, and you might have said to your mom, "Mom, look at those gooses flying." Or if there was a family of mice in your house, you might have said, "Mom, the mouses are scary." So you were 2 or 3 or 4, and maybe you just didn't know the right thing, but your parents probably corrected you pretty quickly. You probably also said, "Mommy, there's some mans over there," referring to several men, and Mom probably corrected you. So these are things that you learned as kids, and that the foreign students don't have that advantage, but hopefully they are learning. So that's problem number one, is that sometimes we just have to change vowels in order to get to our plural. Our second problem, ever heard of an archaic ending? That means old, like Old English. And so child going to children, it holds the Old English terminology there. Ox to oxen, that's the Old English, and brother to brethren. This is not used not a lot in our current day, but there are some plurals that still hold that archaic ending. Okay, problem number 3. And I put here, wow, these have the same singular and plural spelling. And this is where sometimes, people want to give up. on the English language. There are more samples in your book, but deer, D-E-E-R, is singular and plural. Salmon is singular and plural. There's others that are listed in the book, and they'll probably try to trick you with a few for your homework. So just remember that. Sometimes it's going to be the same word for both the singular and plural. Problem number 4. There are those words that just are plural or they seem plural. Look at all the S's that are on the ends of these words. And so we would think they're plural, but they're kind of singular, or this is just really confusing. Measles, mumps, the news, checkers, all of those already have S's on, and they're considered singular plural all together. There's not really a separate. They're kind of in their own category. So we don't say that someone has the measles is, or that we're going to play checkers is. It's just the same word, whether it's singular or plural. Like if we were going to go to Toys R Us, which used to be a great toy store, now it doesn't exist anymore, and we were going to buy some games, we might want to buy 10 checkers games, but we would tack on games with it. Just have to be careful how you use it. Okay, enough of the problems. Let's laugh a little about the English language. Here is somebody that is using, we're going to learn about these later in the year. They are missaying a word, and you have to find the word they are missaying, and it's the mom saying it. Your English grades have gotten worser. Oh no, mom's English is not very good. Even adults don't know how to speak properly. And remember, we are working on having you guys speaking and writing properly so that in the event that you ever are doing a TV or newspaper interview and you get asked questions, you know how to speak and answer properly so that Mrs. Jernigan doesn't have to chase you down. Okay, enough of the funnies. Let's get to problem 5. Problem 5 is the words seem to be plural, but they really aren't. And this is kind of like the previous category. But we have things like pliers, glasses, scissors, tweezers. Like you don't go to the eye shop and buy a glass. You buy glasses. That could be because there's 2 lenses. I don't know. But here's a few words, and there are also a couple of other words in your textbook, trousers. So be on the lookout for those. So it's very similar to the problem in 4, but it's just slightly different. And then finally, believe it or not, we borrow nouns from other languages. And so our plural spellings then are done according to their language laws. So axis goes to axes, index goes to indices, and algae goes to algae. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce that. But you'll see a little chart on page 112 that has a little box, and it's nouns with foreign plural endings. So, take a look at those, and those are the ones that trip you up on the test. So I would write it on an index card and or have it in your notes so that you remember those spellings. You just have to memorize these. There's not a rule to be able to remember. You just have to memorize them. All right, and then there's this whole other category called collective nouns. So if you have something like family or flock, congregation, they are collective nouns, and they could be referring to sort of a singular mindset or a plural mindset. So turn to page 113, and you will see a couple of different examples. The key here is to make sure that you're using the right pronouns along with the sentence. So if you look at example number 1, right at the top of the page, the family sings a new song for family worship every week. It's kind of singular, one family. But if you use the, if you want to talk about all of the members of the family, then you need to make sure your pronoun is correct. So here's the sentence. The family recite their memory verses by turn. Now, family, maybe there's 6 or 7 people in the family. They all have a memory verse. They're going to recite it. This is when you want to make sure you use the pronoun their. The family recite their memory verse. And you also don't put an S on recites. So it's a plural form. And you can look at the other examples. The flock of sheep was grazing contentedly. It's singular, one group. The flock of sheep were fleeing wildly from their enemies. It means that they're all acting separately. They're all kind of going their own way. This is a little hard, and so just do your best with the homework on this. All right, let's hop down, and I want you to do class practice, and then I'll have a little surprise for you. But we're going to do class practice A, B, and C, so I want you to stop the video. Actually, we'll do it in 3 segments. So take a moment to do A and pause your video and then come back and I will recite off the answers for that. And then we'll go on with the rest. So if you're back, I assume you want the answers for class practice A. And so number 1 is trousers. Number 2, cacti or cactuses. Now hopefully you looked at the different rules. Fireman goes to firemen. Oasis goes to oases with the ES ending. Salmon is the same both ways. Remember that one. Larva goes to larvae. Larvae. Louse goes to lice. And those you can refer back to that box. Index can actually be either one. Indices or indexes. It's spelled both ways in our fun English language. And brothers or brethren for the last one. Okay, now hit pause and do B, and I will read the sentences for those. Okay, if you're back, let's do the answers for B. Number 1, mumps is a contagious disease. It is never used, or at least not very frequently, as a plural. Oasis, and this would be more than one, provide welcome relief for desert travelers. OASES. Tweezers is always treated as plural, so the tweezers are lying on the kitchen floor. It has to use the R. Mathematics, have or has? Well, it would be has. Always been difficult for me because it's always used in the singular. And then how many salmons are in the creek? We would need to change that to just 1. Okay, take your stab at C, hit pause, and come back when you're ready. Okay, if you are back, let's do C. The congregation is or are expressing their opinions on the matter. The thing that is key there is their, T-H-E-R-I. That means a whole bunch. And so we're going to use the plural, and we're going to say the congregation are expressing. Number 2, the flock of swallows have or has made their nests high on the cliff. And again, it's plural because we have the word there, and that's plural. So look at your pronouns. So it should be the flock of swallows have. The crowd were shouting, "Away with him!" Probably referring to the crucifixion of Jesus. Now there we have no plural popping out, and so we're just going to use it as singular, was shouting. The next one, the team is or are putting forth all its efforts to win the game. And we only see the pronoun its, and so that's going to mean singular. The team is putting forth all its efforts to win the game. And finally, the class work or works on this special project every Friday afternoon. There's nothing to indicate there that there's folks working as individuals. They are working as one body. So it's going to be the singular, the class works. All right, now if you have plugged away for this whole video and done the class practice, then I have promised a surprise. So here I put do the class practice on page 113, A, B, and C. Write it down, and then click on the next slide to find out your prize. And if you worked all the way through and bring in the class practice exercises, I will give you a half homework coupon. I haven't brought those out yet. I don't tend to bring them out in the first quarter, but I do like to reward those that take the trouble to work through the video. So I hope you had fun. Hopefully we'll do more little fun things in the videos. But refer back to this if you get confused on anything, and I will see you Wednesday.